Hello and welcome to the Gatewatch Cast. I'm your host, Norman Sanzo, and joining me today is Wilson.
Yo, what's up?
Hey Wilson, it's been a while since we last recorded. I miss this. I really miss this.
Yeah, me too.
So, you know what? Just because we got back into the groove or just got back into recording, I got a joke for you.
Oh, okay, sure. What's up?
Knock knock?
Come in.
I can respond to that.
Well, I think we do.
Well, it rolls into our topic for the day, and that is, counterspells. Because counterspell has been the bane of most Magic players, and if you don't have a response to that, well, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So, in today's topic, we're just going to talk about, not only the blue counterspells, but counterspells in general. Because there are some counterspells that are not in blue.
Yes. So there are a lot of white, red, maybe green.
And also black.
Well,
black are a few, but there is black counterspell. So this was back in the days of Magic where
the color pie was not really that
strong.
Yeah, wasn't that strong. It wasn't that fixed, and people were like, "Oh, let's just design a card that can counter a spell that's not in blue. Maybe let's design a blue card that deals damage."
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of uncertainties during that time, but I think now they already established the color pie that blue always must counter spells.
Yeah, I mean that's until they see Tybalt.
Yep.
But we'll get into Tybalt later. But the point is, we're just going to start off simple. What is counterspell in general?
Okay, so I think, in my opinion, counter spells are spells that counter things within Magic. So it can counter spells, first of all. It can counter abilities. And it can mostly counter everything.
Mm-hmm. The definition of counterspell is, the card counterspell is 2 blue, instant, and says counter target spell.
Yep.
So that's usually the, how to put it, is the...
It's the namesake of the entire archetype.
Yep, and it is one of those blue staple cards that blue players should put in the deck.
Well, in your EDH decks, of course.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's almost any deck. Like, you have to have a counter spell card in your deck if you're playing in blue. Like, it depends. But still, most players, or how to put this, most deck builders would say it's best to put 1 or 2 inside a deck, or maybe 4. It depends.
Yeah, it depends.
But we're not going to say that all blue counterspells are great, because there is the card cancel,
which is technically a worse version of counterspell, which they have the same text, it just has a different mana cost.
Yep. And the thing is, this counterspell kind of broke the game for a bit, because early on turn 2, or turn 1 or turn 2, depending on how the mana flow is, you could just deny a person from playing.
Yeah, and I remember it was a pivotal part of a modern deck called Draw Go.
Mm-hmm.
So they just draw, play a land, go. And they just wait for the opponents to put their stuff, they counter it, and they will just go play their own spells and go off.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, yes, certain counter spells are better than others. I mean, the 3-drop counterspell now is kind of a staple, because this happens for other cards too, like Shock. Shock was a 1-cost 3 mana burn card, something like that.
Shock is a 1 cost.
Lightning Bolt, sorry.
Lightning Bolt is 1 cost 3 mana. It's still played in all major formats, modern, EDH, or maybe not so much EDH, but Legacy. And they did try to, not really improve it. They tried to nerf it by printing out Shock, which is the +2 damage one.
Yeah, but the thing is, I talked to a friend, and he told me that most of those cards, earlier cards, when they reprinted or they printed something new, they always find a way to nerf it.
Yeah, they do.
Like cancel is a counter spell, but you just have to add 1 colorless. Sometimes it's not that bad, but it could be
better.
Yeah, and also with the game right now, there's a lot of 3 CMC counter spells that are better.
Yeah, like one of the more recent ones one of them called is disallow. It's a 1 and 2 blue that it's almost like a cancel, but it also counter target activated or target triggered abilities.
Here it is. Disallow is a 1 and 2 blue instant, and it says counter target spell, activated ability, or trigger ability. So that is way better than the cancel.
Yes.
And also there's also, if we're not going to go for disallow level, there's also dissipate. Same CMC and same counter target spell, but it has, if this spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
And that screws a lot of grave recursion decks.
Yeah, like maybe if they are playing a Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, and it goes into the graveyard, they will shuffle it back. This will exile it and it will never come back.
But these are some of the examples of how you should not play cancel.
Yeah. Well, if you are really a budget player, yes, by all means, play cancel. We do understand that if you are on a budget constraint, some cards can be put in.
But let's get back to brass tacks, because we've been talking about blue, because blue seems to be the staple for counterspells, and if I do remember right, you are mostly, or you more lean into the blue counterspell game, right?
I had a master who taught me how to play EDH at first, and he told me all about counterspells. And yeah, I started to play counterspells because of him. But if I were to say, I would play at least 10 counterspells, and if a deck had blue.
Like for me, my philosophy for building decks with counterspell is, mind you, I'm casual, so it's 3 to 5, and to push it more to the extreme, 6.
Yeah. It depends on the person. It depends on the philosophy, as you said. But for me, I would play a mixture of different counterspells in either blue, white, or maybe blue, green. Because there are a lot of blue counterspells that have mixed colors, like maybe a Zord, which is a 1 and 2 blue. It says counter target spell, you gain 3 life.
I remember that. And there are a few other counter spells, like from the Dimir colors, where if you counter target spell, the person meals. I'm trying to look for it now.
There is one, yes.
And if I'm not mistaken,
it's counter score. Is it?
This.
Oh, Psychic
Strike. So Psychic Strike is a 1 in Dimir instant. It says counter target spell. His controller puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her grave.
Yeah. So there are a lot of cards that give you more, that have the same mana cost as cancel, that give you more upside. Like Psychic Strike, it gives you upside. However, although it's the same mana cost, it has a different mana symbol in it.
Yes, but it all depends on what color you're playing, how your flow is, and so on. I mean,
yes, that's true.
If we were to honestly say something about that, play lower CMCs, and this is where I want to bring us to the part where you play a lot of counterspells, right? So how's your counterspell philosophy? Like, what's your CMCs?
Okay, so essentially what you want is for your counterspells to cost either 3 or less, or free. So free counterspells are one of the best counterspells in the game. The few counterspells that are free are Mental Misstep, Force of Will, Force of Negation, Foil, Daze, Fierce Guardianship. These are one of the best free counterspells. Of course, since they're free, some of them may have some price, like Force of Negation, Force of Will, Fierce Guardianship. However, they are worth the money, and they have resale value.
True.
But we won't talk about resale value?
Yeah, because second-hand market is something else.
Yes.
But one thing I like is Flusterstorm. Flusterstorm is counter-target instant sorcery spell unless its controller plays 1, and it has Storm.
Yes.
So the Storm mechanic is, when you cast this spell, copy it for each spell cast before this turn. You may choose new targets for those copies.
Yes, and since Storm is a ability that you can't be countered, it will automatically make that much copies.
So in a counter battle, Flusterstorm would be really, really good.
Yes, it will, unless your opponent isn't playing instant sorceries.
Yeah, but when you're putting down something, you're like I said, when you're counter battling.
Yeah, when you're counter battling, yes. But the other, yes, as I said, the other is 3 or less. which is either you can play, like, as you said, Bookstore, or maybe we can have the Dispel.
Dispel is another good one.
Yes.
But Dispel is very specific because it says counter target instant spell.
Oh, yes. However, we can also play one more spell, which counters blue spells.
Oh.
Pyroblast.
So are we going there yet?
Yeah,
are we going to go there?
If you want, we can go there.
All right. Okay. So we mentioned before there are some counter spells in other colors. Like every color, like just every color. So one of the few favorites that I have in terms of what you call this counter spells in other colors besides blue is, give me a second just to look for it.
Let's talk about white first.
Yes. Lapse of Certainty. This is a 2 and white instant counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it on top of its owner's library instead of that player's graveyard. So it still is a 3-cost counter spell, and it's a hard counter, by the way. But the caveat is instead of going to the grave, it goes to the top of the library.
Yeah.
So that may not be great because the threat will still come again later on.
Yeah, true.
But if you're playing a deck style that mills, that would be a problem.
Yeah. However, it's a very good card. It counters spells, and although it puts it on top, it gives you a turn to answer back. There gives you a turn to answer that threat.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, you're not playing one-on-one Magic because you're playing in a group.
Yep.
So with you doing that, the other players there on the table will have to find an answer for it later on because, Annihilation is dropping. So what do we do?
Well, we have to delay it first. It's almost like a white version of delay where you only delay it by one turn.
Yeah. But there's another one, Dawn Charm. Dawn Charm is a 2 and white instant. And
One in white.
And it has multiple options, but you only choose one. So the first one is prevent all combat damage towards that would be dealt this turn, regenerate target creature, and counter target spell that targets you. This is one of those multiples where I feel like the first one is great, the second one is okay, and the last one is very specific because not much card do target players.
Well, it depends. If you're facing a burn deck, a burn EDH deck that is suddenly doing 20, 50 damage to your face or to each of your opponent's face as well, you can use Dawn's Charm to like counter that spell, or you if in a specific situation he's like fireballing you for I don't know how much, you can use it.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where it's very specific because sometimes you could go a full game where nobody really targets you, but they only target your board.
Yeah, but I think in terms of Dawn Charm, it's very flexible because it has two other options, like the prevent damage and the regenerate target creature.
And Dawn Charm is still good. I'm not saying that it's bad.
Yeah.
But for a counter spell, it is not great.
It's not great, I agree, but it's a good card.
And, here's another counter spell that's also not great is Illumination. Illumination is 2 whites. And this is a really old card. I forgot what set this is from. Let's see.
It's one Mirage.
Mirage, because it says interrupt, but the errata says instant. Okay, the card says counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Its controller gains life equal to its converted mana cost. So it's not great.
Yes.
It's very specific. It's very, very specific to artifact and enchantments.
Yeah, and it gives life, which is a downside to us.
Is it?
It gains life.
Yes.
Its controller gains life.
Yes. But at the same time too, like, it's an answer for threats on the board that maybe other players don't have. Because if that person is casting down a Flux Reservoir, Omniscience or Flux Reservoir, because Flux Reservoir is a bad one.
Yep.
So this can do it.
Yep. Bolas assisted there as well.
Yeah. But at the same time, two people would just say, why don't you just play a counterspell?
Well, it depends. If you're playing mono white, then this will be in. If you're playing stacks, mono white stacks, this will be in as well.
True. Yeah, but still, it's one of those things where at least you have a way to prevent that from happening.
Yes.
So, what do you think, honestly? Like,
I think that it could be better, but it's a subpar counterspell in terms of being a counterspell. But in white, yeah, it's a good counterspell if it's in white.
I don't think I want to talk about this. I think we just have to, because one last card on the list for white is Mana Tai.
Of course, we have to talk about Mana Tai.
True. And Mana Tai is a one white instant, and it says counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. This one is one of those things where it's very, very, very situational, because
it's one of my favorite counterspells in white.
True, I can agree, but the pay 1 part is very tricky, because you really need to play this early or play this when the person step out.
Yeah, you need to time it correctly. But this is a very good card if you draw it in the early game. I've seen a lot of people in CDH who play this so that they can counter the turn 1 Soul Ring, turn 1 mana, what's it called? Mana Vault.
Mana Vault.
And a lot. So I think it's a good card, but don't get me wrong, but it's not for casual, it's for competitive.
But at the same time, too, like, even if it's for competitive, you have to weigh the pros and the cons, because here's the thing with counterspells. Why Wilson said he plays 10, I play 5. The thing is, you could put other things inside that are better.
Yep.
So, like, Mana Ties may be good, but is it good in your group? Because if it's not, then why put it? Like, you should put something else.
Yes, I agree.
But that's besides the point. Let's go to... We want to talk about blue, because blue has a lot of good counterspells, but at the same time, too, everybody knows what counterspell does in blue.
Yeah, well, there are a lot. So I don't think we should cover this.
Yeah.
We can just skip this and just jump into red.
Yeah, but you did mention some of the better blue spells or blue counterspells. I'll just put in my hat Arcane Denial. Arcane Denial is a 1 and blue instant card, and it's a hard counter, but the caveat is its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. You draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So it's basically, yes, you're stopping the person from casting a spell, but you're giving them 2 cards. But you also get 1 card, because you just spend 1 card.
It's actually more like a counterspell cantrip to yourself, but it's a counterspell cantrip with a downside. Because in EDH, giving your opponent cards means giving them more answers.
True. But here's the thing. If you're playing a Nikusar deck,
then that's different.
If you want him to draw. So by drawing, they deal damage.
Yeah, that's true. Or maybe you're playing Notion Thief.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, but like, the thing is, it has a downside, but at the same time, too, if you know how to cover it, then it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
So let's move on to the next on the list.
There's black, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if there's any black.
Let's see if there's any black.
There's actually just 2.
2? Oh, well.
Yeah, so let me go over the first one. Mm-hmm. The first one is called Dash Hopes. It's an instant for 2 black mana. It says, when you cast a spell, any player may pay 5 life. If a player does, counter Dash Hopes. It's an counter target spell.
So this is a 2 black?
Yeah, it's a 2 black. But the thing is, even though it's just 2 black, your opponent can pay 5 life and it can just be countered. It's a counter spell, to say the least.
I mean, it is a counter spell, but
it's not. We didn't say it's a good counter spell.
I mean, the caveat is the player who's getting countered has a way to stop it by paying 5 life. This may be a trap in standard, or standard or modern or a normal game, where your starting life is 20. By paying 5 life, you're dropping down to 15.
Yep.
So that is a bit of a risky move to do.
Yeah.
But in EDH, 5 life is nothing.
Yeah, in EDH, life is a resource.
Yes. But I say this is one of those cards I would put in personally, because I just love the idea of, okay, I counter you. You want to play 5 life?
Yes.
That's just me.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the next one, which is Withering Moon. Now, this is one of your favorite EDH cards, and it's one of the most expensive ones.
Yep. I seen this before, and one of our previous guests, Rom, has it. And it's one of those cards where if you got hit by this, it's like, okay, I wasn't expecting that in a mono black deck.
Yep. So it's It's Withering Moon is an instant for 1 and a black, and as an additional cost to cast the spell, you must pay 3 life. It counters target creature spell. So it's basically a black version of Essence Scatter where you have to pay 3 life.
But is it good or is it bad?
It's not bad, actually. It's a good counterspell. You just need to pay 3 life. And as we've said, 3 life is a resource. So it's actually a very good card in a black deck. Any black deck, to be honest.
True, but I'm more of the guy who likes it when you get to counter almost everything. Because when you play Magic, from what I notice, a person casts a creature, that's not a big deal. A person casts an instant or sorcery, okay, that's dangerous. Because most of the current blue counter spells right now are mostly countering instant or sorceries. Even the free ones, like, what's the one from the Commander Precon?
The free one?
Yeah.
For which one?
Commander Precons, like the blue. Like,
I
if
forgot.
your commander's out, you don't have to pay.
Like Fierce Guardianship?
Yeah, Fierce Guardianship. Like, that one says...
Counter target non-creature spell.
And then exile. It's basically a this.
It's basically a force of negation, to be honest. It's just a force of negation.
But still, like I mentioned before, it's one of those cases where a lot of cards are there.
Yes. However, you need to remember that black isn't really the color for counterspells, so you can't really expect much from them. So I think that black being able to just counter creature spells is already good enough.
True. So let's see. Okay, let's go into red then, because red has some interesting counter spells.
Yes, it has. So the first one I think is Artifact Blast, same as you. So Artifact Blast is a 1 red instant that says counter target artifact spell.
And here's the thing. Red has always been known for the color of destroying artifacts.
Yes.
So having it counter, it feels a bit strange.
Yeah, it does, but it's always been that strange.
Yeah, true. Oh, here's one. It says Burnout.
It says counter target instant spell if it's blue, and you draw a card at the beginning of the next upkeep. Oh, this is a good card.
Yeah, basically this is one of those I hate blue cards.
It is.
But I want to be blue.
It's almost like Arcane Denial without the upside of without the downside.
True. Or maybe a disallow.
Disallow withdraw. No.
Disallow is just counter target instant, because this one is
it's a dispel.
Yes, dispel. Sorry, my bad.
It's a dispel for blue and with a bit of upside there. Yeah, it's a good spell. I would put it in an EDH deck. I should buy it.
I too, because it is very interesting. Even though it's targeted to blue players, but it asks you to play with a group of blues.
Yeah.
And usually there would be some. Surprisingly, most of my game, people don't play blue. I don't know why.
Okay, so the next one is Molten Influence. So Molten Influence is a 1 and a red for instant, saying counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller has Molten Influence, deal 4 damage to them. So this is a bit of a niche card. It's basically like the one Dash Hopes just now, but it's 4 damage.
Okay.
I really think that this card is really bad.
But the cost is low, so it's not that bad.
It's the same as Dash Hopes, but for instant sorceries, as you said. But as we've said, life in EDH is always a resource.
True. But at the same time too, when you look at it, right, if you're setting up for I won't say combo, but if you're setting up for a card that really wants opponents to
take damage.
Take damage. So this is one of those cards where I don't really need to burn them, or I do want to counter the spell, but if they don't, it's okay because I have this other card on standby because I need them to take damage first so I can maximize this card.
That's true.
I mean, it's not great, but for the cost of colorless and red, it's okay.
True. I agree.
And it counters instant sorceries, like we mentioned before. If somebody plays a, Cyclonic Rift, this does stop it hard. Unless they take 4. I mean.
Yeah, true.
And okay, here are 2 cards that I really love. And one is Pyroblast and the second is Red Elemental Blast.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's actually a very big difference between the Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast.
Alright.
Although they both cost 1 mana instant, and if you look closely, it looks almost the same. There's actually a difference.
Okay, so the first line is counter target spell if it's blue. The second one, Pyroblast is that. Red Elemental Blast says counter target blue spell. So it's almost the same, but the wording is different. Okay.
Yeah.
Then the last one, or the second choice is destroy target permanent if it's blue. Destroy target blue permanent. So what's the difference?
Okay, so from what I've read from the Magic Judges blog, it says that Red Elemental Blast can only target a spell or permanent if that spell or permanent is already blue. Whereas Pyroblast can target any spell or permanent, but will only counter destroy if it's blue when Pyroblast is resolved.
So it is one of those cases where why did you waste this card on a non-blue spell?
Yes, and then maybe you turn it into blue.
That's smart.
Yes, like maybe you use Dot Lace or Sleight of Hand to change it to blue.
Welcome back. We took a break for a bit,
Yep.
but let's continue on with, green.
Yeah.
So what do we have in green? Because I do see cards like Autumn's Veil. It's not a counterspell, but it's really kind of popular.
Yeah, it's almost Veil of Summer. Yeah, but they are not counterspells in my opinion.
Yeah, they're not. But Avoid Fate is.
Yeah, so Avoid Fate, it's a 1 mana instant that says counter target instant or aura spell that targets a permanent you control. So basically it's a anti-black /red spell, because usually instants that targets your permanents are usually like that.
And you know what? Here's something funny, because it is from Time Spiral.
It might get reprinted.
Yeah, because the Time Spiral 2 Electric Boogaloo is coming out soon.
Yes, Time Spiral Remastered.
Yeah, so we may get this one in there if we kind of want it.
Hopefully.
So it's not bad. It says instant aura spell that targets permanent you control. Like you said, blue, black, white. Ooh, white does it.
And black, because a lot of curses are in black.
True. So yeah, it's not great, but still, it is okay. I say this is okay.
Yeah. So the next one is we're going to be talking about Gutter Response. Or do we have another one in green?
I don't see any much, because I do think we have, but I think you're much better set. Oh, that one. Those the 2 hybrid colors. There is an enchantment, by the way. There is an enchantment called Life Force.
The one that turns black spells, right?
Yes, but it's an enchantment and you have to pay green for it?
Yes. Okay, so Life Force is a 2 green enchantment that says pay 2 green, counter target black spell.
I mean, we haven't even gotten into the part where you have creature that do counters.
Yeah, sure.
But usually those are in blue, so it's not something that we kind of want to talk about because it's already in blue, so why talk about it?
Yeah, there are also white creatures that also target spells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't think if we touched on this would be like a 10-hour video.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going for what is a counterspell, and counterspells are usually instant. We're just going to touch upon the wacky side of Magic from days of old, where counterspells are in almost all colors.
Yeah. So should I talk about Gutter Response?
Yes.
Okay. So Gutter Response is an instant for 1 hybrid red or green that says counter target blue instant spell. So it's a simple card. It's a red or green instant that targets counters target blue spell. Mm-hmm. That's all.
And it's pretty okay, because when you think about it, you pay 1 red or 1 green to counter a blue instant spell.
Yep.
And usually instants in blue are the killer spells. Cyclonic Rift are one of them.
Oh yeah.
Or what if you have something like draw, what was a draw card?
Those are Zenith,
or even
extra turn spell.
Yeah.
There are a lot of threats in blue that can be answered by Gutter Response.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not bad. It's just one color, so it's not that bad.
It's 2 colors.
I mean,
it's countering 1 color, yeah. But it's also very restricted because it only counters instants.
Yeah, but at the same time too, sometimes you have to think about, I want to counter this now, or is this a big threat? And I am not playing in blue. So the blue player won't suspect me of anything.
Yeah. So the last one the best we saved for last, the newest one that came out.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of those cards where when I first saw this, I was like, did they forget the color pie again?
When I first saw this, I knew this was going to be very good in Modern.
And it's banned in Modern.
No. Is it? No.
Yes, banned.
Oh, yeah.
So the card we're talking about is Tybalt's Trickery. Finally, Tybalt's getting good.
Oh well.
So anyway, Tybalt's Trickery is a 1 and a red instant. Counter target spell. Choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards, then exile cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card with a different name than that spell. They may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then they put the exile card to the bottom of the library and remember. So, this is new and I thought it was great, but after reading it a few times, I find it a bit strange.
It is a bit strange at first. But when I first saw this card, I was like, oh damn, I can cast my Emerald Pool now.
Oh, you can cast it on your own?
No. I just need to counter my own spell.
Yeah.
And it allows me to cast my Emerald Pool.
So how does this work? Because it says choose a 1, 2, 3 at random, and then you mill that many, then exile cards. How does it work?
Okay, first of all, it says counter target spell. That's the important part. It says counter. Then at random you go 1, 2, 3. And that's important because now you can't manipulate the top 3 cards of the deck with since it's divine card. They thought they put this into they put EDH into perspective because of this. Then they mill that many cards and from the top of their library, and then they exile cards from their deck until they exile a non-land card with a different name than that card.
So if I get this right, like 1, 2, or 3 at random. So we roll a dice and see what number it hits.
Yes.
All right.
So maybe let's say 1 and 4 is 1 card, 2 and 5 is 2 cards, 3 and 6 is 3 cards. So let's say you roll 6, you mill 3 cards, and then you have to exile from the top.
And by the way, that's not we don't roll dice. We just roll dice to just pick a number at random.
Yes. So after that, the most important part is once you exile a non-land card, that's a different name from the counter spell, the spell that's countered, you may cast the card without paying its mana cost. Now, that's the key point. A lot of cards, like maybe Virian's Artbow, sacrifices a creature, then maybe discards a card, then you can just put the creature on the battlefield. Not this one. This one says you can just cast it. And that opens up to a lot of possibilities for Eldrazi's.
Oh yeah, because most of the Eldrazi's are kind of casters, like they want to be cast in.
Yes. So in Modern, we had a deck where we had 1 Tybalt's Trickery, 4 Cascade, a 3 mana Cascade, and then 4 more Emeralds. That's and the rest are lands. So basically, you had 9 non-land cards, and the rest are lands.
Oh god.
Yes. And that is one of the fastest Modern decks when it first came out.
And because of that,
It got banned.
Yep, Tybalt's Trickery got banned because like that is just insane. Could you just imagine if it's like Yu-Gi-Oh! And they didn't really do anything until the next cycle?
Yeah.
Or emergency ban,
Yeah, but they did do this on time because this was a major BNR announcement, if I remember correctly. So now that we have Tybalt's Trickery out of the way, I seriously think Tybalt's Trickery isn't really that strong.
Yeah, because after
in EDH, I mean.
But after you read that to me, right, I remember that there's a card that's a bit better, and it's called Fall into Ether. It is a 2 and 2 blue instant, and it says counter target spell. If you do that, spell's controller may put a creature card from his or her hand into play. Granted, it doesn't cast the creature, but you can put a creature into play. So if you put a, Critical Behemoth or so on, it does do a lot of damage.
Yep, I agree.
So with that, that wraps up counter spells.
Yep. So I think counterspells. Okay, my advice for counterspells is play how many you think you want to play. Don't just play a full deck of counterspells. Maybe not even a 10th. Maybe like how Norman said, if you're casual, put in maybe like 5 or 6. A lot of counterspells are played because they want to stop combos, because they want to stop people from going off, and it's one of the best. It's an essential part of Magic, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And usually, how do I put this? Usually, counterspells are mostly for control players because we didn't get into the aspect of counterspell. Who is it good for? Like, what kind of player would really use counterspells? And in all honesty, for me, counterspells would be mostly good for players in the mid-range to control style of play. If you're a aggro player, you don't really care because you just have a lot of beaters coming down and just hitting really hard. Yeah. The only thing that can stop you is just board wipes.
It depends. It depends. So, if you really want to play with counterspells, if you're willing to invest, get those free counterspells and get those cheap counterspells. If not, I suggest you go the casual route, go with 5 or 6, and just play a casual, good EDH deck. Don't be like me. Please don't be like me.
Hey, people want to play with people want to play like you. So let's move on to the next topic, and next topic is combo of the day. Do you have any?
No. What about you?
I am looking at a website called MTG Cartwheels. Cartwheels. And I'm just looking for infinite combos. And there's a lot here that I got no idea which to pick from.
Let's see.
This one's new. This one looks fun.
Oh, okay.
So it involves Jessica's Will and Reiterate.
Yeah.
So it seems that this card wants us to have infinite mana.
It does. So first off, you need a card. You need an opponent with 7 or more cards in your hand, and then you need to buy back.
Mm-hmm. And it says if you have 7 or more cards in opponent's hand, play Jessica's Will and copy it infinite times. For each, gain a rate. If you have a commander in play, you can remove and play all of your deck.
Okay, so how this combo works is, first off, you need to have around maybe, let's say, 6 mana, and if you have your commander out. First off, you pay 2 and no red to cast Jessica's Will, targeting an opponent that has 7 or more cards in their hand.
Oh, this really punished the players who like to draw a lot.
Yes. So, second, you play the Reiterate. Reiterate is a 1 and 2 red instant that has buyback cost of 3. So you pay for that buyback cost and the normal mana cost, and it says copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So once you copy Jessica's, you cast a spell copying Jessica's Will. Now, since you buy back the card, it goes right into your hand, and the Jessica's Will is copied. Once the copy resolves, and you choose the opponent with 7 cards in their hand, you get a copy of the 3. You get a 7 mana, and then you may recast Reiterate, copying the Jessica's Will again, and then you get 7 mana again, and it will return back to your hand, and you keep casting it until you have infinite mana, and you exile all the cards in your deck.
Oh, our deck.
Yep. You exile. It's because it's the second says exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn.
Oh, so basically we exile everything and then we play everything.
Yes, and maybe you have a combo piece in there. You can infinite damage, maybe like Comet Storm.
Okay, so this is not bad, but which kind of deck would really use this kind of combo?
Mono red.
Mono red?
Yeah, because this is a mono red combo, and because it makes infinite red mana, you can just make infinite red and just go off.
So what do you think about this combo? Is it easy to pull off? Is it viable?
It's very viable, but you just need enough mana to do it.
It asks for 6 mana out of the gate.
No, it actually asks for 9 mana because you need the buyback cost.
Yeah.
But it for 9 mana in red, as long as you have enough artifact wrap, you can do it.
I mean, you only need what? 3, 4, 5 colorless?
Yeah.
I mean,
If you have the correct cards, you can just pull this off in turn 5.
True.
And it depends on your commander as well.
Yeah, it depends on the commander, because if the commander does add value to it, that's awesome.
Yep.
So, with that, let's move on to the next topic and let's wrap up. So, guys, if you have any questions, concerns, or suggestions for the show, you can catch us. You can email at us at thegatewatchcast@gmail.com. And, we don't have a Twitter, or at least I don't have one for the show. Do you have a Twitter?
I do, but no, I'm not going to share it yet.
Alrighty then. So anyway, we are recording at Alexandria Bookstore. They're awesome guys and gals. If you are in the Johor Bahru area, why don't you come down and join us for some fun? Because, the MCO, the
lockdown on our country is quite heavy right now, especially in our state. But after the MCO, if everyone gets the, vaccine, right?
Mm-hmm.
If everyone gets the vaccine, then we can just play without worry. Of course, we have to have our precautions. You guys can come down here, have fun with us, talk with us, even play EDH, modern, standard, not legacy though. You can play with us. We can come. You can have fun. You can even just relax here without even playing anything. We even have models. We have Warhammer. You can start a new hobby here. Really, it all depends on you.
True. And with that, let's wrap up the show. I have been Roman Sanzo.
And I'm Wilson.
And we'll guys catch you next week with another fun episode of the Gatewatch Cast.
See ya.